Hey guys, what's up? MadSeason here, back with another video for you. As I said in the last video, I recently got into the alpha for the Battle for Azeroth, and I've been playing it for a bit, doing some of the initial questing and whatnot, so I thought it might be interesting to share my general thoughts of the expansion so far. So, obviously, it's very early on here. I mean, we can't even hit the max level yet, which is 120. Right now we're stuck at 116, so it's a very early impression sort of thing. Just to give you an idea of my playtime, I've hit 116 in about 10ish hours of slash played. Then after that, I did some island expeditions and a dungeon. So probably around 15 to 20ish hours of game time total in BFA for all of my characters. And of course, this video will have some spoilers in it. I'll try to throw in a little warning if you want to avoid those, although still, watch at your own risk. I make no promises. So, starting with the most obvious stuff here, the leveling and the story. Well, questing is questing. There's really not much to say about it. It's not really groundbreaking, but it's still done well, and it has that classic Blizzard touch that you come to expect from them, and from what I've seen so far, it's on par with Legion, which I also thought was pretty good. The quests make sense, you're given a good variety of different objectives with rare elites, treasures, and those bonus objective quests strewn about to take you off of that beaten path and lead you into new areas. One thing I noticed was that the rares and treasures are back to giving you a ton of XP like they did back in Draenor, so that might be a viable leveling method if there are enough of them, which is cool. It could be a nice way to level alts once we have flying unlocked. The setting is just fantastic in my opinion. I think they really nailed it with this maritime salty sea dog theme. I'm playing the Alliance by the way, so no idea about the Horde, but going through Kulturas has been pretty cool, and I find myself exploring the nooks and crannies of each hub and looking at all of the little details. The new models, how the NPCs lean against the wall, all of the new armor and whatnot. I'm sure part of this is just due to the expansion being new to me, but I'm finding myself pretty immersed in this world that they've created here. I want to be one of these fat humans. Have these guys been officially confirmed as an allied race yet? If I can play a portly rogue with the teleports behind macro, I'll flip out. A common criticism I see is about the story. People don't like that we're going from Legion, where we're literally taking on the biggest, baddest guy in existence, going through his unending demon army, killing his lieutenants, taking on titans, and then banishing that leader and imprisoning him, to playing with boats in a faction skirmish. I think it's a fair criticism, but as a counter, I pose the question of, when does it end? Yeah, it is a step down on the scale of epicness, but I mean, we just beat the leader of the Burning Legion. There's really no topping that, and if they tried to make every expansion outdo the other, it would just get ridiculous. Like, what's next? Super Saiyan Sargeras? What about after that? Does the Pantheon join him as his Ginyu Force, and he ascends to Super Saiyan 3? I mean, it can't go on forever, and taking a little side trail every now and then isn't a bad thing. I mean, hey, it worked for Pandaria, right? That was a huge sidetrack out of left field, that's for sure, and people seem to enjoy that one, so I don't see the worry here, I guess. Plus, I think it isn't really just the Alliance and Horde playing boat wars if you pay close attention to some of the stuff going on. I won't get into that since I don't want to turn this into a speculation video, but I have a feeling we'll have some pretty interesting twists coming up here. But, you know, all of that is just my opinion as always, and you're entitled to yours, of course. Without trying to get too specific to spoil stuff too much, all I can say is that the setting and the story appeals to me so far. And as you can see in the clips, I chose the Affliction Warlock as my first class, mainly because it's my main on live servers, and I thought it would be a good choice for general solo play with a pet and whatnot. Now, I'm not sure how other classes are faring, but with the loss of our artifact, the gameplay is pretty simple, let's say. On live servers, We have that artifact ability with the soul harvesting. You have to manage a buff and continually use your ability at the right time to buff yourself and maximize your damage. But now that we lost the artifact, we don't have that anymore, and the spec is left feeling very simple for me. We no longer drain for damage, which I kind of like if I'm gonna be honest, but really the gameplay is corruption, agony to generate soul shards, unstable affliction to spend those soul shards, and shadow bolt. That's pretty much it. You can't get shards by draining anymore, life tap is gone so there's no mana management, which why have a mana bar if you never dip below 95%. Not that I really liked life tap, but I just feel like I'm pressing like 4 buttons here. You can take some abilities and talents, which spices things up a bit, which I did, but still, compared to live, it feels a little empty. Again, it's just one spec, and I have heard that it's sort of an outlier right now in terms of simplicity. I'm hoping that's true. And we don't have Azerite armor as far as I know, so who knows, that could make a big difference as well. As it stands right now though, I'll probably pick something else when it launches just because it's a little too dull for me. Again though, just my opinion, I'm not saying it's a fact. And as far as Azerite is concerned, this is pretty much the replacement to our artifacts. Now, I disagree when people say that they're a carbon copy because it's simply not true, but they are similar in some ways. You do some questing, do various objectives, and you get this currency called Azerite, and your quote artifact this time is a necklace, which is powered up by this Azerite, just like artifact power from Legion. Except now, instead of unlocking abilities for it, it just increases the eye level and it gives you more stats. The actual abilities are instead tied to something called Azerite armor. This is special rare armor that you supposedly get from dungeons and raids that have passive abilities on them, and you can sort of pick and choose which ones you want. Think of it as another layer of talents, except different armor will have different abilities to choose from supposedly, and the higher level your amulet is, the more abilities you can choose. Now, all of this armor stuff isn't in the game yet, so I can't talk about that too much. So far it's just the necklace, so how that all works out remains to be seen. At first glance, it seems like it's sort of a combination of the artifact system and legendaries from Legion, with the Azerite armor sort of being like legendary gear in the sense that it'll have certain affixes tied to them. I doubt they'll be as rare, and they'll have multiple perks that you can pick and choose, so again, I disagree when people say that this stuff is a carbon copy of what we had in Legion. Expeditions are also in the alpha partially. There's just one available right now called the Ungol Ruins, and you can only go against normal difficulty NPCs. If you remember from BlizzCon, there should be a few difficulties also going against actual players. The NPCs are supposed to be more advanced and sort of emulate players a bit, which they actually do. It's pretty impressive actually, although I think they jump a little too much. In this round, we're going against normal NPCs and we end up losing actually, so I guess they are pretty advanced. Or we just suck. I haven't figured that out yet. But the basic idea here is that the island is teeming with Azerite, both the Alliance and the Horde want it, so it's a 3-on-3 battle where you scramble around the island killing creatures, gathering chests, helping NPCs, and so on, and as a reward you get some Azerite. And the first team to 6,000 wins. Azerite that's immediately near you shows up on your minimap, so you're not just wandering around in the dark. And if you notice, at the top of the screen, along with the total count, you see something called the Azerite detector will come online. When this thing is active, all Azerite along with the enemy's position shows up on your map, so you can make more informed decisions on where to go and what to do. Killing players is beneficial because as you're collecting this Azerite, you get a stacking debuff that makes you drop more Azerite on death the more you collect, capping out at 250. Plus, if you take them out, You're also making them respawn for a bit, which is also of course useful. We took them out in this little skirmish, as you can see here. Now, this is a little buggy because they didn't actually drop Azerite, as their total at the top remained unchanged. It's a little broken right now, but you get the gist of things, I think. When your detector comes online, it also seems like another big random event happens on the island as well. In this case, we were warned that an elemental lord was also hunting for the Azerite, and a bunch of earth elementals popped up. I'm not sure if Therzane herself appears as well. I looked around for a bit, but I didn't find her, so it might just be one of her big lieutenants that gives you a bunch of Azerite upon death, and both teams maybe have to fight to kill her, sort of like those MOBAs when the big boss spawns. All of the enemies are random. Sometimes you get elementals, general wildlife, hosen, pirates, and so on, so things are always different. There are also clickables on the ground that heal you, buff you, and etc., which are also random. For example, you can get the shovel, which allows you to later dig up Azerite, or maybe next time it'll simply be a chest. I've done a couple so far, and they're pretty fun. I like repeatable content with little twists here and there. It's reminiscent of the rifts in Diablo 3 in some ways, with the random layout of enemies, shrines, and chests, and I think it has a lot of potential if it's done right, and they'll be a bit more intense against other players because even though they are advanced AI, there's never going to be a replacement for that PvP experience, no matter how much they jump. Dungeon-wise, I haven't gotten much in. There's only 3 available right now, and that's Atal Dazar, Freehold, and Tol Dagor, if I'm pronouncing those right. As you can see from this list, so far there's 9 total. I did Freehold, which is the big pirate city, and it was pretty good. Aside from one of the bosses being bugged out, that is. Just like questing, there's really not much to say. It's that classic World of Warcraft dungeon experience. The one I did I thought was done well, the bosses were cool, and I look forward to running it in Mythic Plus, especially the part where you have to catch the greased up pig. So, my initial impression is, it's pretty good. I'm a little worried about classes not having enough abilities now that we've lost our artifact weapons, and being a little too simple, but hopefully that's just because I picked Affliction, which a lot of people say is in a bad spot in the alpha, so maybe that's just me being unlucky. Again, hopefully that's the case, but we'll see, I guess. I don't have much to say about Azerite since it's not fully implemented yet, and I find the new Expedition game mode fun, and it could have some longevity with that RNG factor. Overall, I'm pretty excited. The initial hype of just getting into the whole world has faded by now, so I think I can say at a pretty collected level that I'm looking forward to this expansion and our next adventure in Azeroth. But that's about it for this one. Those are my initial thoughts on the expansion in its current alpha state. I might come back to this from time to time when there are major updates, certainly if they add in stuff like Azerite armor, the mission table, more zones, war fronts, and things of that nature. As we start seeing all of that stuff being added to the game, I'll try to give you a nice rundown of it, just like how I did here hopefully. Anyways, I hope you found the video interesting or entertaining. Like it if you liked it, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Farewell for now, mortals. We hope you enjoyed today's video. See you again soon.